We have done in the last stanza that McClary gave sheet to Evans to write his detail in that. And after that, silence 9:20 am. McClary, I am now going to start. He said, I am going to start the exam now. Evans, is he not going to stay here? Is he? And so Evans asked about Stephen. Is he going to stay here? McClary said, I don't know about that. He said, I don't know about that. Stephen said, Mr. Jackson's given me strict instructions to. He said, Mr. Jackson has given me instruction to be here. Evans says, how am I supposed to concentrate on my exam with someone breathing down my neck? Christ. Sorry, sir, I did not mean. Now he was saying, oh my God, how am I going to give the exam if somebody is sitting with me here breathing up and down? The governor reached for the phone. Jackson, good. Get Stephens out of the cell, will you? I think we are perhaps overdoing things. Then governor told Jackson, bring that Stephens out of the cell. We are overdoing the things now. It's enough, whatever security and things we have to keep in mind, it's okay. But now I think we are overdoing the things. Tell him to come out of the cell. As you wish, sir. The governor heard the exchange in the cell, heard that door clang once more, and heard McClary announce that the examination had begun at last. So governor heard about the talking and communication, whatever was going on, and the door also, the voice of the door. And then McClary said, I am going to start the exam now. It was 9:25 am, and there was a great calm. At 9:40 am, the examination board rang through, and the assistant secretary with a special responsibility for modern languages asked to speak to the governor. So 9:40 am, again the bell rang of phone, and the secretary wanted to speak to governor. The examination had already started, no doubt. A quarter of an hour ago. He asked, hope examination is started. So governor said, yes, it is started. Yes, well, there was a correction slip which some fool had forgotten to place in the examination packet. Very brief. Could the governor please? He said, there is a correction slip. That person has forgotten to put it there. Will you do the favor? Yes, of course. I'll put you straight through to Mr. Jackson in leaving. Hold the line a minute. He said, I'll ask Jackson to talk to you. Till then you hold the line. Was it the sort of thing the governor had feared? Was the phone call fake? Some signals, some secret messages, but he could check on that immediately. He dialed the number of the examination board, but heard only the staccato beeps of a line engaged. So the governor was thinking, he was afraid of something that would be done by Evans, and something fake calls or something. Is it like that? Is it some signal for Evans to escape from the jail? So he wanted to check it immediately. He rang to examination board again, but it was coming staccato beeps, means when we dial the phone which is engaged, the long beeps. So it was coming like that. But then the line was engaged, wasn't it? Yes, not very intelligent that. So he said, okay, line is engaged, it means the call would be from examination board only, so it's okay. 2 minutes later, he heard some whispered communication in the cell, and the McClary brought Scott's voice. And after 2 minutes, McClary was speaking in his Scottish voice. Will you please stop writing a while, Mr. Evans? He said, stop writing for a while and listen carefully. Candidates offering German 0211 should note the following correction on page 3. Line 15. The fourth word should read goldenen, not goldeny, and the whole phrase will therefore read zum goldenen. Lower not zum goldenen lawn. I will repeat that. So this McClary said the fourth word should be read like goldenen, not goldeny, and the whole word phrase will be zum goldenen lawn, not zum goldeny lawn. I will repeat it. The governor listened and smiled. He had taken German in the sixth form himself, and he remembered all about the agreements of adjectives. So governor also was listening, and he was happy that, yes, because he also knew something about German, about the adjectives and all. And so did McClary. By the sound of things, for the minister's pronunciation was most impressive. But what about Evans? He probably did not know what an adjective was. They both knew about the adjective of German, but Evans did not know anything. The phone rang again. The magistrate's court. They needed a prison van and a couple of prison officers. Remand case, and within 2 minutes the governor was wondering whether that could be a hoax. So again one call came from magistrate's court, and they wanted a van with 2 prison officers. And governor was now again, he was thinking, maybe it's a hoax, maybe it's a fake call. He told himself not to be so silly. His imagination was beginning to run riot. He said he thought maybe this can be fake, but now he was telling himself that don't be so silly. His imagination is going beyond now. He was thinking so much. Evans. For the first quarter of an hour, Stephens had dutifully peered through the peephole at intervals of 1 minute or so. So Stephens was in duty there near the door. He was peeping inside the hole after the intervals of 1 or 2 minutes. And after that, every 2 minutes, at 10:45 am, everything was still alright as he looked through the peephole once more. 10:45 he looked again, everything was okay. It took 4 or 5 seconds, no more. What was the point? It was always more or less the same, Evans. His pen between his lips, sat staring straight in front of him towards the door. And Evans was sitting like this continuously, keeping his pen on his lips and towards the door. Seeking, it seemed, some sorely needed inspiration from somewhere. It was looking like what happens when we give the exam and we don't know any question. We think like something, some inspiration, something from somebody will help us. And opposite him, McClary, seated slightly askew from the table now. His face is semi-profile. He was sitting slightly askew, means slightly slanting he was sitting, and his face could be seen half-base for one side. His hair, as Stephens had noticed earlier, amateurishly clipped pretty closely to the scalp. Amateur means not done perfectly. Okay, unprofessionally we can say. His eyes behind the pebble lens peering short-sightedly at the Church Times, and with his spectacles he was reading Church Times. His right index finger hooked beneath the narrow clerical collar. Right hand index finger, it was in the collar, and the fingers of the left hand, the nails meticulously manicured, and in the left hand finger it could be seen that his nails are meticulously, means very carefully manicured. Slowly stroking the short black beard, and he was stroking his beard. At 10:50 am, the receiver crackled to life, and the governor realized he had almost forgotten Evans for a few minutes. So 10:50 again the bell rang, and he forgot about Evans for a few minutes. Evans, please sir, a whisper. Please sir, would you mind if I put a blanket round me? Shoulder, sir. It's a bit parky in here, isn't it? Silent. So Evans was asking Mr. McClary, can he have the blanket because it is cold here. There is one on me bunk here, sir. Be quick about it. He said there is one blanket in my bunk. Can I have it, sir? So sir said, okay, but be quick. We have seen that when Stephen came back to look at the peephole, then he was surprised to see that one man was lying on the chair where Evans was sitting, and he also had the blanket on his shoulder, and the blanket was slipping down from his shoulder. And in front, his hair also were covered with blood, and it was also dripping. The blood was also dripping through the small black beard, and even it was spreading horribly in the white collar, and then down into the black clerical front. Stephen shouted wildly for Jackson, and the words appeared to penetrate the curtain of blood that veiled McClary's ears. So he started shouting because he was surprised to see that even this McClary has gone, because he himself went to see him off to the main gate, and when he came back, he was lying on the chair. So he shouted for Jackson, and the words appeared to penetrate the curtain of the blood that veiled McClary's ear. So it penetrate means the voice went inside, the words went inside the curtain of blood that veiled McClary's. Curtain of blood means because it was bleeding, and it covered his ears also. So it went inside McClary's ears. For the minister's hand felt feebly for a handkerchief from his pocket, and very weakly he was taking out the handkerchief from the pocket and held it to his bleeding head, the blood seeping slowly through the white linen. He took this handkerchief and he put it on his bleeding head, and the blood, it was seeping means it was leaking outside that linen cloth. He gave a long, low moan and tried to speak. He was moaning and he wanted to speak, but his voice trailed away. And by the time Jackson had arrived and dispatched Stephen to ring the police and the ambulance, and he wanted to speak something, but he could not do that. And by the time Jackson also came, he told Stephen to ring the police and the ambulance. The handkerchief was sticky, squelchy wad of cloth. Now handkerchief has become sticky, squelchy wad of cloth means what happens when suppose you get hurt somewhere and you put your handkerchief on that. It becomes like sticky and becomes crushy like, and it becomes very hard also. So that piece of linen cloth also became like that. McClary slowly raised himself, his face twisted tightly with pain. He raised himself, McClary, and his face twisted tightly with the pain. It was pain. Don't worry about the ambulance, man. I am right. Get the police. He said, don't worry about ambulance. Don't call the ambulance. I am okay. You call the police. I know where he said, I know where he has gone. He closed his eyes and another drip of blood splashed like a huge red raindrop on the wooden floor. And he closed his eyes and again it was bleeding, and one this drop of the blood, it fell like raindrop on the wooden floor. His hand felt along the table, found the German question paper. Then from the table he got German question paper and grabs it tightly in his blood-stained hand, and he holded this question paper on his blood-stained hand. Get the governor. I know where he wants. So he took the question paper, he holded the question paper, and he said that get the governor, call governor, I know where Evans is gone. Almost immediately, sirens were sounding, prison officer barked orders, puzzled prisoners pushed their way along the corridors, doors were banged and bolted. So everywhere the people, they started running here and there, and the sirens were there, and prison officer, they were barked ordering, they must be shouting and giving orders to others. All the prisoners were puzzled what is happening, so they were also running on the corridor, and the banging of the doors and bolt, it could be heard. And phones were ringing everywhere. And within a minute, McClary with Jackson and Stephen supporting him on either side, his face now streaked and caked with drying blood. So now Stephen and Jackson, they were there, they were supporting McClary and they were coming out. And his face now streaked and caked with drying blood. And now this the blood which was coming down, which was on his face, it was looking like the line of bagged. I mean, the blood must have dried now. By the time the blood must have dried, it was looking like the line of this dry blood. Was greeted in the prison yard by the governor, perplexed and grim. And when they brought him with them, Jackson and Stephen, they were supporting him and they were walking out. So governor was there. He was standing in the yard and he was confused, perplexed, and he was serious. Seriously, he was standing there. We must get you to hospital immediately. I just don't. You've called the police? And so he said, we should take you to the hospital. Governor said to McClary, I should take you to the hospital. He said, no, I don't want to go hospital. But have you called the police? Yes, they are on their way. But I am all right. Look here. He said, I am all right. But you look here. Awkwardly, he opened the German question paper and thrust it before the governor's face. So he took the question paper and shown it to governor. He showed that German question paper which he has in hand to governor. It's there. Do you see what I mean? So something was written in the question paper. He wanted to show it to the governor. He said, it's there. Can you see what I mean? The governor looked down and realized what McClary was trying to tell him. A photocopied sheet had been carefully and cleverly superimposed over the last page of the question paper. So he was showing him that one photocopy of the sheet, it was carefully placed over the last page of the question paper. Okay. Yes, see what they have done, governor. You see. His voice trailed off again. He said, you see what they have done. Something is pasted there and one paper is pasted there and something is written there. As the governor, raising the layer of long neglected learning, willed himself to translate the German text before him. So something was written in German there, and governor, he was trying to remember what he has learned earlier. He could not learn German properly, but still he was trying to translate that German text to English. Now German text is written 2 lines. The translation is, you must follow the plan already something. The vital point in time is 3 minutes before the end of the examination, but something. It was written, you must follow the plan, and the important time is 3 minutes before the examination ends, and something was written. Don't hit him too hard. Remember, he is a minister. And this was also written. Don't hit him too hard. It would be written for McClary. Don't hit him so hard because he is minister. And don't overdo the Scots accent and don't overdo the Scots accent also. Don't speak in that. Don't overdo means don't show off. A fast approaching siren wailed to its crescendo. The great doors of the prison yard were pushed back, and a white police car squealed to a jerky halt beside them. So the fast approaching siren was wailing with the loud noise it came. The great doors of the prison yard were pushed back, they were open, and a white police car squealed, very making noise. It came inside to a jerky halt beside them, and the car stopped there. Detective Superintendent Carter swung himself out of the passenger seat and saluted the governor. So Carter, he was detective superintendent. He came out and he saluted the governor. What the hell is happening, sir? And turning to McClary, Christ, who has hit him? He said, what is happening here? I don't understand. Oh my God, who has hit him? But McClary cut across whatever explanation the governor might have given. So governor, whatever he could speak before that, McClary cut him. His explanation, whatever he was giving. Elsfield Way, officer, I know where is Evans. He was breathing heavily. McClary was breathing heavily. He said, I know where is Evans. And leaned for support against the side of the car, where the imprint of his hand was left in tarnished crimson. So he, because he was already beaten so badly, he was not able to stand also. So he was taking support of car. And his imprint of his hand, they were left tarnished crimson. The dull crimson color, red color, the print of his hands were there on the car. In bewilderment, Carter looked to the governor for guidance. What? Bewilderment means he was confused. He was perplexed. And he looked at the governor for guidance. What to do now? Take him with you. If you think he will be all right, he is the only one who seems to know what is happening. Carter opened the back door and helped McClary inside, and within a few seconds the car leaped away in a spurt of gravel. So they put the McClary inside the car, and then the car leaped away in a spurt of gravel. Spurt of gravel means very fast. We have seen in the last stanza that McClary was taken to hospital and the car leaped away in a spurt of gravel. The car was moving very fast. Elsfield Way, McClary had said, and there it was, staring up at the governor from the last few lines of the German text. So where they have to go now? Elsfield Way, because it was written in that question paper at last. From Elsfield Way, drive to Haddington roundabout. Where? Yes, of course. So he said, from Elsfield Way, you have to go to Haddington roundabout. The examination board was in Elsfield Way, and someone from the board must have been involved in the escape plan from the very beginning. The question paper itself, the correction slip. So he said that because examination department was also, board was also in Elsfield Way, so maybe somebody from the board would be involved in this all events escaping from the jail. The governor turned to Jackson and Stephens. I don't need to tell you what happened to do. His voice sounded almost calm in its scathing contempt. And which one of you two morons was it who took Evans for a nice little walk to the main gates and waved him bye-bye? So that governor said, I don't have to say anything to you, but I want to know who was that stupid one who has taken Evans to the gate to say bye-bye. It was me, sir, stammered Stephen. So Stephen said, it's me. Just like you told me, sir, I could have sworn. He said, I say it, I am sure that you only told me to do that. What? Just like I told you, you say? What the hell? So the governor said, what I told you to take him there? But when did I tell you? What the hell? What is going on? When you rang, sir, and you told me to. When was that? The governor's voice was whiplash now. So he said, when you told me, you rang me and you told me to go. But governor was saying, when did I do that? I did not do that. The governor's voice was whiplash now. It was very sharp and bitter because he did not call anyone, and Stephen was saying, you have called me and you have told me to take him. And that was not governor actually, that was somebody else. It would be one's plan. You know, sir, about 20 past 11 just before. He said it was 20 past 11 and you, before that you called me. You blithering idiot man. He said, you foolish idiot man. It wasn't me who rang you. It was not me who rang you. Don't you realize? But what was the use? He had used a telephone at that time, but only to try to get through to the examination board. He said he has used telephone to go through examination hall. He shook his head in growing despair and turned on the senior prison officer. As for you, Jackson, how long have you been pretending you have got a brain? Oh well. Now he turned to Jackson, another officer. He said, from how long you are pretending that you have the brain? Well, I will tell you something, Jackson. Your skull's empty. He said, he was saying, you are fool, your brain is empty. Absolutely empty. Because everything was done, everything was the security and every arrangement was done properly. Then also they could not stop Evans from escaping. It was Jackson who had spent 2 hours in Evans' cell the previous evening. And it was Jackson who had confidently reported that there was nothing hidden away here. So Jackson was given the duty. He checked everything there. And it was Jackson who was there for 2 hours and he took all the things whatever was there. Nothing at all. And yet Evans had somehow managed to conceal not only a false beard, a pair of spectacles, a dog collar, and all the rest of his clerical paraphernalia. So he said it was Jackson who checked everything, but still Evans had the beard, false beard, he had spectacles, he had dog collar also, and all clerical paraphernalia means all the things, all the items, whatever he needed. But also some sort of weapon with which he had given McClary such a terrible blow across the head. He said he also had a weapon with which weapon he has this beaten or he has hurt McClary. So it was Jackson who checked everything there and he said nothing is there, everything is okay. Still Evans had so many things with him. Even he had some weapon also. With that he blew McClary. A person went back alongside. A prison went back alongside. So the van came there. Prison van came there from the back. But the governor made no immediate move. But governor did not move because he was very angry and he was very much irritated that time. He looked down again at the last line of the German. To the Haddington roundabout, where you go straight over and make your way to New Graben. New Graben? Where on the earth? Now he was reading that paper in which it was written New Graben and he was thinking that where is that New Graben because he never heard it. New something, new grave. Never heard of it. There was a war grave. Now he was thinking about where is the place and he said I have never heard before. And there is a war grave somewhere near Reading. But he said there is a war grave somewhere near the Reading. But no, it was probably a code word or. And then it hit him. Now he understood that it's not actually, the name is not written clearly, it's a code word. Now he understood it will be Newbury. God, yes, Newbury was a pretty big sort of place, but he said, it will be Newbury because it's a very good place. But he rapped out his orders to the driver, send Eldred's police station and step on it. Take Jackson and Stephens here and when you get there, ask for Bell. Chief Inspector Bell, got that? So he told driver, you go from here, you take Jackson and Stephen with you and after that you take this Chief Inspector Bell also with you. He leaped the stairs to his office 3 at a time, got Bell on the phone immediately and put the facts before him. So he went there and very quickly he was leaping 3 stairs at a time. He called Bell also immediately and after that put the facts before him. We will get him, sir, said Bell. We will get him with a bit of luck. He said we'll definitely get him once if we'll be a little bit lucky. The governor sat back and lit a cigarette. Ye gods, what a beautifully laid plan it had all been. So he said, oh my God, what a wonderful, beautiful plan he had made. What a clever fellow Evans was. He was praising Evans, what a clever fellow he was. Careless leaving that question paper behind. But he was a bit careless because he left that question paper behind. But then they all made their mistake somewhere along the line. Well, almost all of them. But everybody made some mistake. Everybody, those who were there. Some few, this is small mistake everybody has done, all of them. And that's why very shortly Mr. Clever Evans would be back inside doing his once more. He said that's why, because he has done mistake, everybody has done a small mistake, and that very soon that Clever Evans would be back in this jail. The phone on his desk erupted in strident burst. Again the phone busted, means it rang again, and Superintendent Carter informed him that McClary had spotted Evans driving off along Elsfield Way. So he said, Superintendent Carter, he said that McClary has seen Evans. He was going to Elsfield Way. They had got the number of the car all right and had given chase immediately. And they chased him but had lost him at the Harrington roundabout. The cars were chasing him, but unfortunately they lost him in Harrington roundabout. He must have doubled back into the city. They were saying maybe again he must have come back to the city. No, said the governor quietly. No, he is on his way to Newbury. He explained his reason for believing so and left it at that. He said no. He is on the way to Newbury. He must have gone to Newbury, and he explained his reason for believing so, and he gave the reason also to believe this. It was a police job now, not his. He was just another good for a gullible governor. That was all. And the governor was, he said, the governor was like, good for a giggle means just for the child's laugh. The children can laugh at him. He was like that. And a gullible, a very innocent one. Whoever said whatever, he believed in that. By the way, Carter, I hope you managed to get McClary to the hospital all right. So he said to Carter, hope you must have taken McClary to the hospital. Yes, he is in Radcliffe now. He said, yes, he is in Radcliffe now. Really groggy he was when he got to the examination office and they rang for the ambulance from there. He said he was very weak. He was unable to walk when they have got him from examination office, and then ambulance was called. The governor rang the Radcliffe a few minutes later and asked for the accident department. After that, governor himself, he rang to this Radcliffe hospital and asked for accident department. McClary, you say? Yes, he's a parson. So he said, okay, you are asking for McClary? He said, yes, he's a priest. I don't think there is anyone. Yes, there is. You will find one of your ambulances picked him up from Elsfield way about. He said, no, he's there because your ambulance came and picked him from Elsfield way about. Oh, that. Yes, we sent an ambulance all right, but when we got there, the fellow had gone. No one seemed to know where he was. Just vanished, not a sign. He says, yes, our ambulance came there, but the fellow had gone from there, and there is no sign, no trace of where he was. He just vanished. So you will understand it later on, what happened actually there, and how Evans was able to escape from the jail.